Welcome back, my favorite game developers. In this video, as you can see, we have something a bit different. We have waves, but these waves are not just regular elements or regular ints and variables. They have different variables inside of them, and we can create another wave and another wave, and as you can see, each one of those has their own element. So welcome to the advanced C# section. Let's not waste any more time and let's get started, but I need your full concentration, your full attention span, and your full patience with me. So let's get started. Okay, so now that we have our random levels, it's time to create random enemy waves. So we are not just going to have the regular enemies in here. I just set them up in the previous video so that we know what the general idea is in each level and just have a bit of differences between them. But in this video we are going to create an enemy spawner, so let's get started. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to open up the managers, and we don't have managers in here, so we're going to go to one of these that does have a manager, and this is it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the prefab. Do we have a managers in here? And I'm just going to add the entire managers folder so we can add managers to whichever scene that we need. So I'm going to go into the boss level. Do we have all the managers in here? Yes, we do. The cowards, we don't have the managers, so prefab managers, add the managers in here. There we go. Now we have the game, level, and audio manager. Let's go back and see. So the cowards, yes, save. The health, do we have managers? No, we don't. So again, we go to the prefabs, managers, and there we go. We add the managers to the health room. Let's go see what else do we have. The new, do we have managers? Nope, we don't again. So find the managers, add this, and if you want, you can just skip this part and go straight to the, yep, we have it in here. But this is not the prefab, so I'm going to delete this, and I'm going to add the actual manager prefab. We should have done this in a previous one also. So scenes, what is this? The shop, the skellies. Let's see, no manager, add the managers, back in the scenes, skellies, spikes, save, managers, there we go. Boss level, this is not the managers that we want. This is not the manager that you are looking for. So cowards, let's see, yes, 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 yes. Okay, great. So everywhere we do have managers. Now it's time to actually create a spawner, and the best place I believe to start is in these skellies right here. So in the skellies, go to the level manager, and let's go ahead and add a component in here. Or no, actually, let's go into the scripts. And where shall we add the wave spawner? Let's just add it inside of the managers. In here, we're going to create a new C# script, which is going to be the wave spawner manager. Hit enter. We just added the name manager, so we have an excuse to add it to the managers. So I'm going to go ahead and add it to the level manager, and in here I'm going to open up the script. So what do we want to do in here? We want to create another class. Why do we want to create another class? Well, because first of all, this is advanced C#. Second of all, we want to create an entire different class for the waves, because the waves have name, the waves have enemies, the waves has amounts of enemies, the delay between each time we spawn an enemy, and so on and so forth. So in here I'm going to go ahead and create a public class, and it's going to be called the wave. And this wave will have a couple of things. So first of all, it will have a public string name, and obviously we don't want to have it always as public, but in this case, just so we can save a bit of time without having to create all the extra things, we're going to make them public. Then we'll have a public game object and an array of enemies. What? An array of enemies. There we go. Then we'll have a public int the amount of enemies that will spawn, and then finally we'll have a public float spawn delay. There we go. So these are all of the elements, or let's say the part of the wave, all the variables inside of the wave, if you want to call it that, variable, because this is a class, it's something totally different. But this is not the only thing that we need to do. We also need to make sure to say that up here this is a system.serializable. So we save that. And what does serializable mean? It means that now if I open up the Unity script right here, we should see that, okay, nothing happened. Why is that? Well, because we also need to do one more thing. In here we are going to say that this has a public wave. As you can see, now we have a totally new class, an array of waves. So we save that. Now when we go back into Unity, we shall see that we have the option to create waves. And if I just add one wave in here, you'll see that I have different elements for this wave, and I can have a name, can have an amount, can have the spawn delay and the enemies that I want. And if I add another element in here, you'll notice that again I have a different name, different enemies, different amounts, and different delays. So as you can see, this is why we created or made sure that this is a system.serializable. This will allow us to create different elements of this and will allow us to create these types of variables. So basically we've created a new variable that has different variables inside of it. So let's continue on. Now that we have all of this, the next thing to do is to obviously go ahead and start checking wave after wave. So the first thing we need to do is in here we'll create a private int, and we will keep count of the next wave, and obviously we will start at 0. So the first wave will be 0, and every single time we create a new wave with a new amount of enemies, with the new different types of enemies, we will go to the next wave by increasing it by 1. Then we are going to create a serialized field where we will keep track of the time between waves, and let's just set it at 5f as a default. And then we are also going to keep track of the wave count. So float wave, did I say wave count? I meant count down. Okay, save that. And now in start we need to initialize the wave countdown to be as the time between waves. And then we are going to, oh, this is something for later on, I was thinking. But now we want to have something also as an extra, and I think this is the perfect place to create something of or something we've already covered, which is an enum. And why do we want to create an enum? Because the waves will be in 3 separate states. We will have a spawning, so this is where we are spawning every single, I don't know, the time or the delay between the enemies. For example, every 2 seconds we spawn a new enemy, we spawn a new enemy. At this time we don't want to be doing certain things with our wave spawner controller or manager, I mean. So we need to create different states. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to issue you a challenge, and your challenge is to create an enum for the different states that we are going to have. So we've already covered enums in the pickups section. So first of all, create an enum for the different spawning states that we'll have. We'll need to have the spawning, waiting, and counting. And finally, all you need to do is create a variable of this type so we can use it as a reference. So pause the video right now and go do the challenge. Okay, welcome back. So as I've told you in one of the pickups, where is the pickup the layer? Nope. Item dropper? Nope. Where was it? In the... Oh, okay. So in the shop item, as you can see, we've created an enum for the health restore, health upgrade, and the weapon. And based on each of those, we have a switch statement. we are going to do almost exactly the same thing. So in here, I'm going to create a private enum, and this will be the spawning states, and we are going to have the spawning, the waiting, and the counting. And then we'll just create a variable of this type, which is going to be a private spawning states and state. There we go, save that. And in here in the start, what do we want to start with? Well, we are going to start with the counting. State is equal to spawning states dot counting. So we start off by counting down, and in start also we need to make sure that we set the, so we've already set the wave countdown. We want to, in update, start counting down on the wave. So if the wave countdown is less than or equal to 0, then what we're going to do is we're going to check, first of all, if the state that we are currently in is different than the spawning state dot spawning, then what we're going to do is we'll start spawning. Well, if else we haven't finished the countdown, then we are going to get the countdown and remove from it time dot delta time. So what is happening in here? Let's just do a small recap, because all of this is fairly new. First of all, we have the wave spawner manager, which is attached to the level manager in here. Okay, wait for this to compile any day now. Okay, thank you. So then what do we have? We have a wave, and every single wave has different elements attached to it. So what we decided to do is create an entirely new public class just to represent it. We could have, if we want, created a separate class just for this one. I mean a separate script just for this one, and not have it be a mono behavior, just a system serializable. And system serializable means that it allows us to create this right here, and it allows us to change the different elements right here on however we want. So it gives us the ability to change the variables much easily. So we created the waves, we keep track of the next wave. This might be public if you want, just to make sure we see everything properly, make it public. We created the time between waves, the waves countdown. This is pretty simple. Then we created an enum for the spawning states, because we have different spawning states. First of all, we can be either spawning, waiting, or we can be counting down. And then we created one to just keep track of everything happening. Just like we had in the shop item, we will later on have different, how should I say, we will have different methods being executed in the update based on on which state we are in. We will be having different elements, different things, and this is the first example of it. If we are counting down, if we finish counting down and we're not in a spawning state, then we will start spawning. If we haven't finished counting down, we are just going to remove from the countdown the time dot delta time until it's under 0. Then we check, are we spawning? If not, then we will start spawning in the next video, where we actually will be spawning enemies. So I hope you enjoyed. I know this is a bit complicated, but this is what you signed up for. You came to the C# advanced section, the bonus one. So I hope you enjoyed. I hope you are committing your changes, and I'll see you in the next video.